can hear us, Tara? Okay, good. So I guess most people can hear us. Good. I got a lot of thumbs up. All right. So we're going to start. Let me introduce my friend England. She is going to share her amazing breast implant illness story with us and how it kind of segued and took her to this journey where now she's doing scar therapy for people, not just breast implant illness people, but actually this is something that I had heard about. I was having back pain and all kinds of stuff after my surgery, and I thought it was just part of the scars. And one time I got it worked on, but honestly, it was by a man, and he was great. But for me, it felt kind of weird having someone rubbing on my chest. So I would have absolutely much rather have found a female to work my scars. But there was so much relief that came from one session. And I couldn't believe I felt really bound up. And I'm sure a lot of women that have the surgery, even if you just have implants put in, you feel constricted. You're breathing. Did that ever happen to you?
Absolutely. I didn't notice it so much until actually having them out.
Yeah.
How much of the back problems and the breathing issue was actually, because of the implants.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I want to hear about your story. So let's talk a little bit about your story, and then you can tell us all the amazing stuff about the scar therapy and how it brought you to that point, and the difference that it made in your life and what differences you're seeing it's making in other people's lives. And I'm going to book my appointment at the end of our call because I meant to do it already. So, all right, go ahead. Tell us.
So for a long time, I actually did not know what to attribute a lot of my seemingly just unexplained health issues to. It started out very gradual, and I think it's probably that way for a lot of us.
How long had you had them? How long had you had them at that point?
About 6 years.
Yeah, that's the same time. That's the same amount of time as mine started to bother me. Sorry.
I have heard a lot of people say between 6 and 8 years.
Okay.
I think I just started out in such a healthy place and I was never one to really complain or, I guess, focus on, problems or issues. It was just kind of like you just pick yourself up and go on.
Yeah. And you're a mom. You're a mom. So you don't, I mean,
right.
when you're a mom, you don't always realize anyway.
Right. And so looking back, it was over the 6-year period, there were signs now that I see that were definitely deteriorating health. But mainly it really hit me as I stopped breastfeeding my last child. And intuitively, I just think as women, as moms, we tend to, our natural ability of our bodies is to just do first to nurture our young. So I breastfed up until she was about 3.5 years old. And definitely in the year before that, I definitely had creeping health issues like brain fog and adrenal fatigue, metabolic burnout.
And you probably blamed it. You probably blamed it on being a new mom, right?
Well, right. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I'm getting older.
Right. Well, it's
I
funny.
have 3 kids.
It's funny because you said it was when you were breastfeeding. Okay, so that was similar for me. So it was a breastfeeding thing, and what I thought was, and a lot of women ask me because I had a hard time making enough milk breastfeeding. So I think my theory is that it got disrupted. The biofilm covering the implant, it got disrupted with all the breast milk and the ducts, and that's what shook everything loose, man.
I do. I think actually that makes a lot of sense because as the mammary glands and everything gets really tighter, it does really, I think, contribute to more leaching of the toxins and chemicals in the body. So basically, you know, these smaller things that kind of went unnoticed, and I just kind of contributed to getting older and being a mom of three, having a son on the spectrum, and kind of, you know, just normal mom stuff, not
Crazy
getting
life,
enough sleep,
mom life. Yeah, exactly.
homeschooling,
Mom
you
life.
know, all that stuff. But it really kind of hit the fan as soon as it was like my body's way of telling me, as soon as I was finished nursing her, like, oh yeah, by the way, you weren't taking these hints before, but there's something majorly wrong with you.
God.
Um, and, you know, I went through a lot of almost a year worth of treatments, holistic treatments, integrative
I
therapy.
remember that. And you had heavy metals, you were getting chelation therapy, because I
Hmm.
remember, and it just wasn't doing what you wanted it to do. And you were getting all this
Right,
chelation therapy, and I went to a similar place and had my metals tested. They wanted me to get chelation therapy too. And it was like there was something there. You know, they were asking if
right.
I lived, you know, if I was drinking well water. What did they think it was coming from for you?
They asked me that as well, and you know, and we went to such extremes too. We literally moved homes and totally refurbed our house. We had radon light barriers put on the AC to filter all of our air. We had new
I have
ductwork put
goosebumps.
in,
It's like, it's crazy.
everything.
I know. It's
Water
crazy.
filtration systems. I basically lived in a bubble. I
Well,
mean,
at least your
had
house is nice and sterile now. I know where I'm coming
right.
if the world goes crazy.
All the flooring, all the walls, everything. We
Yeah.
switched to, you know, very environmentally friendly and non-toxic materials. And it was like, where is this all coming from? I was doing, aside from the chelation therapy, I was doing UVBI. I was doing
Wow.
HOPAT, you know, ozone treatments. I was doing oxygen therapy.
And were you
Um,
feeling better? Was it doing anything?
There were times, yes, that I was feeling a lot better, but it was still just never, it was never enough. And I kept asking, like, how could all of these problems, you know, I was actually diagnosed with Hashimoto's,
Yeah.
adrenal fatigue, metabolic burnout, all of that stuff remained. I was so anxious
And you
and
feel crazy
overwhelmed all the
because
time.
all the doctors are telling you there's nothing wrong with you, right? And I think every
Yeah,
person I've talked to says the same thing. You know, there's nothing wrong
cortisol
with you.
spiking. Yeah. And, you know, and I was doing everything just, you know, so perfect. I mean, we never went out to eat. And I mean, there's just a very, very few trusted specialty restaurants
Yeah.
that focused on organic and, you know, really high quality foods. And I had gone through the GAPS elimination diet. I was basically following protocols that were a combination of the GAPS diet, autoimmune protocol, the paleo. I had already cut down off of paleo and done minus nightshades out of that. I then went into ketosis, which, you know, that helped me a lot. It did kind of hold things at bay. And I feel like once I was actually diagnosed with the breast cancer, I do feel like some of the therapies that I did really stopped that in its tracks
Yeah, I
until I
bet.
had to actually wait like 3 months
Oh,
before
God.
I could get everything removed.
How stressful. And then meanwhile, you have three kids. So you're trying to just like deal with life. It's so hard. And that for me is so heartbreaking. It's like, you know, all the moms. I mean, I feel bad for everybody, but the moms, because the kids suffer, you know, because we're dragging
Yeah. Oh,
butt,
yeah. Yeah. There were, and
butt.
if I went into like just something as simple as the food intolerance issue,
Yeah.
if I were to choose to have a normal social night and go out and actually have dinner with friends, the slightest bit of cross contamination for me could mean literally like 3 weeks of feeling like I got hit by a bus.
Yeah.
Um, just barely being able to pull myself out of bed. And it
It
was,
makes you
yeah,
feel like it's not worth it, right? It makes you feel like it's not worth it. But then at the same time, what are you going to just not do anything ever?
Right. And I mean, it got to the point where I spoke with my husband, who's 15 years older than I am. And I spoke to him, but I have two children from a previous marriage. And I was scared to death that if I passed away, that I was and about to start a legal proceeding to make sure that my husband, who had been in my older two children's lives for most of their lives since they were like 4 and 5 years old, to make sure that I knew that he was going to be able to continue to be in their lives, because I thought that I was possibly going to die.
So emotional. And it's so like, and then you're trying to heal. So it's like you're trying to heal, you're trying to figure out what's going on with you, and then you've got all of this stress. And I mean, we all know that oxidative stress can kill you before cancer could kill you. It can give you cancer. And so here you're trying to heal, and now you're all stressed out. And it's true. You're a mom, and you know, mom guilt is the worst guilt. So okay, so you get to this point, you've like changed your entire life. Now you're basically like the poster girl for a green living life. And here you still are having all this sick stuff. What happened next?
Well, when I was diagnosed, I still didn't correlate it to the implants.
When
And
you were diagnosed with breast cancer? Gotcha.
yeah,
Now I thought that was at the
and
same time. I guess I misunderstood that.
it was right around the same time, but I did get the diagnosis before I actually had confirmed. I think I had actually gotten a text message from you and about a breast implant illness situation, and I definitely I did pay attention to it. However, with everything else going on and all of the different therapies I was doing, it didn't catch my attention initially. And then finally, that same article was sent to me by another friend just a couple of weeks later.
Wow.
And so I went in
Really
and
quick,
and
really
I
quick.
just
Someone's asking, what kind of implants did you have? Christina.
they were mentor.
Were they
I
smooth
don't
or textured?
textured, I believe.
Those are
I
the
think
ones,
they
yeah.
even possibly called them gummy bears. I don't know for
Those,
sure.
okay, those
But
are the ones. Yeah.
actually, that's a little controversial for me because the cards that I had were actually not what came out of my body.
Yikes. That's
So
scary.
what they told me I had wasn't actually what was in my body,
So
come
what
to find out.
so the textured implants are what they're actually linking to the all the breast cancers, right?
Right.
So
Well,
were they in
I
fact
wasn't
textured?
supposed to. They were, but they weren't supposed to be. I wasn't told that they were textured. I was actually told that they
Yikes.
were the mentor, um, high profile, but I can't remember exactly how they referred to them, but they were basically smaller around, but were project out more. And just because of my frame.
Profile,
And
that's what I had. I had the high profile ones too. Amber
well,
was, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was supposed to have. But come to find out, I actually had a totally different kind.
Yeah.
Once the doctor saw them.
Wow. The gummy bear is
Um,
definitely the one that I hear the most. I hear a lot of people that have them get sick right away. Personally, that's what I hear.
yeah, I've
So
heard that too.
I didn't mean to take you off track, but that was a good question, because breast cancer, that's something everybody wants to know, because that's the one that's showing up, you know, with textured.
Right.
But anyway, so wow, the whole
So
having something
basically,
different in
the
your body is
second
scary.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And it took me the second time of really, when you're in this holistic journey with anything, not
Oh
just
my
this,
gosh.
but I feel like with anything, once you actually take accountability and take your medical well-being, your health into your own hands, and realize that you have to do your own research, you get to
That's
a
it.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it can be very overwhelming. You're down a lot of different rabbit holes. And
That
so
is
it took.
actually the best. That is the truth. That is it. That's it right there. Because now you're your own doctor and you're learning stuff and you're going, ah! But once you settle in, And that's why there's so many women like you and me and so many other women that are telling their story, because you're taking guesswork out for a lot of women that are just starting their journey, you know. And it's unfortunately, there's a lot of women that started 15 years. I was talking to someone 15 years today. She said she's had her implants and they've been making her so ill, and she had no clue that that was it. Anyway, I know I get squirrel, but it's just that, you know, that's such a huge thing, is that you have to be your own advocate. So yes, you go down all these rabbit holes.
You do. And it took me, I basically had a file. Everything that everybody sent me, I'm just kind of old school like that. I have to actually print it out and see it on paper rather than just going to the links online.
Sure.
From text messages
I'm
or
kind of like
private
that.
messages.
My husband teases me though.
Yeah, so I literally had a stack probably 16 inches thick.
Wow.
I mean, it was like of just papers. And I finally, once the second friend sent me that same exact article, I recognized it. And it was just kind of a sign to me, sit down and read this a little more in depth. And, you know, it just hit me. This is what it is. Like, there's no other explanation. I just knew in my gut.
Yeah.
This is what it is. And then I started also realizing that as much as I thought I knew and as safe as I thought I was being, and like as wise about the decision as I thought I was initially being, I didn't know as much as I knew at that point.
Sure.
Or I would have never gotten them.
Sure.
So
I mean, but we don't know what we don't
know.
know. And when we know better, we do better. And that's all we can do. And now you're helping a lot of other people to do the same thing, you know, to know better, to know more, and to know better and do better. And that's all you can do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay,
I don't try to.
So you get them removed, and now fast forward. I want to know. I want to know how you got to this scar therapy point, because for me, I would have never thought to do that unless I had a friend. Tara actually told me to go for scar therapy, and if she wouldn't have told me, I would have never thought that had any effect on my body whatsoever. I would have never, ever, ever, ever thought of that. So how do you get from this point to that point?
Actually, I really saw the importance of scar therapy before I had surgery to explant, and because one of the holistic therapies that I did brought light to my C-section scar.
Okay.
And so I did have some improvement with some specific things, digestion related, and also lymphatic flow. And so I had already been doing scar therapy from hip to hip on a C-section scar that had been cut. There are a lot of different types of scar therapy. And so that was why I knew what I wanted to do when I had my explant, was because I had already done probably 4 or 5 different types of scar therapy. And I knew which ones were more effective and which ones were really painful and what I wanted to go with. So I knew what resonated with me and the combination of things that worked for me and when to start. And, you know, as I was healing, I was actually in training myself, because I knew that I wanted to be able to do it on myself, as well as my acupuncturist was also helping me with it. And she kind of made the suggestion, you know, with everything else you do as a holistic practitioner, I know this is going to be something you're really passionate about. And you really need to be doing this every day, not just twice a month when you come to see me.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So she said, you know, why don't you go? And I did, you know, some different certification processes and Touch for Health, and became a little bit more in tune with muscle testing and kinesiology, and how to learn how to set my own frequencies exactly the way that my body was ready to handle at that point.
So so this is my question, because I know the one time I did it, like I said, I was having all this back pain. I'm actually having the back pain again, and whenever I stretch, I can feel it. It's right in line where my scars are, and it wraps all the way around to my back. It feels like a thick thread pulling, like it's
Right.
pulling. Right, exactly, scar tissue, right? The fascia tissue, right?
Right. The
So
fascia, it's the connective tissue between the skin and the muscles.
okay, so Melissa Wild wants us to know, she wants you to explain exactly what scar therapy is, because, I wouldn't have known either. So tell us exactly what it is. What do you do? What is it? Your scar therapy? Is it
There's a
you're yelling at a scar? I'm just kidding. Tell us what you do.
Well, it's kind of funny because there is actually an emotional aspect to it as well. I don't know if
So
there's any
she's gonna
Louise.
yell at your scars, is what she's gonna do. I'm just kidding.
But there are a lot of different techniques. I combine several. I do use some tapping, like EFT, for the emotional aspects of clearing things.
Because your body
I
does,
also,
the cells do hold emotions. I know that if you don't
absolutely.
explain it, it might sound a little funny, but the truth is they find that in psychology, that our cells hold emotions, that if you have an injury, that group of cells is scared of things that are similar to keep you safe. So, your body actually becomes accustomed to those things. So it helps release that fear in the
Yeah,
scar,
you really have to work on the mind, body, spirit at the
Sure.
same time. But the manual manipulations that I use is really a combination of Thai yoga practices, cupping,
So a lot of stretching.
and
Thai yoga is kind of like stretch work, deep
a
stretch
lot of
work. Okay.
stretching.
Yeah.
Yeah, where
Okay.
I'm actually manually manipulating the person. And then also I use a lot of Graston technique and different. I use wooden tools and stone tools as
Oh, I've
well.
had those, and those are the ones that break it up. Now, someone is asking, Amber Brooks is asking, would infrared light therapy be a type of scar therapy?
It can be, yes. And I do sometimes with, I actually use electromagnetic frequencies as well with some light therapies. And then even sound therapy at times, and making sure that you're listening to the right frequencies as you're doing the scar therapy is really kind of part of assisting in the whole process as
I just
well.
learned a little bit about the sound therapy, and you can actually look it up. There's binaural beats. You can look that up for free on YouTube, and it's actually helps sync with the brain waves. Free on YouTube, binaural beats, and it actually helps. There's some for calming the soul. There's some for relaxation and anxiety. And if you're suffering from breast implant illness, or you're just coming off the other side of it, chances are you're having a lot of anxiety. I always plug this, and I'm a huge fan, and it's free on YouTube, and you just find one you like, Yoga Nidra, Nidra, Yoga Nidra, and it's amazing for anxiety. I had to put that there for you. So you're going to thank me, I promise.
I
Okay,
listened to that one.
I
Yeah,
know, I'm
absolutely.
obsessed. I tell everyone. Okay, so Amber also wants to know, this light has frequencies built into the system. I just started it. Energy is key. Yes. And Vanessa wants to know, yes, very different. Okay, so these must be your people. Are these your people? Okay, meditation. Amen. Yes, meditation helps. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I keep getting you off, but I want to make sure that we help and answer everybody's questions here. So, okay, so I love this. So you're doing a lot of different stuff, and that's cool. I love that.
Well, one of the things that I do and that I think is different it's different for everyone. I got put through the ringer with a lot of different people, a lot of different places beforehand. And the bottom line is that everyone is different, and what helps you may not help everyone.
Right.
So I feel like because of all of the different therapies that I went through, I kind of have a good way of being able to not only muscle test people to say, okay, like, what is your body, specifically your body, ready for? What layer is it ready to unpeel right now?
Yeah.
And so using the muscle testing is really key. and knowing that you're not going too hard at it at first, because we all just kind of want to get through this as fast and as quickly as
That's
possible.
me right here.
But your body's not ready for
Take
that
2
sometimes.
detox vitamins. I'll take 6. But everybody else, I give really good
Right.
advice. Me, I'm
And your mind
I'm
can
go,
be
go,
there,
go.
but your body may not be.
Yoga Nidra,
So-
Amber. It's Yoga Nidra, Nidra. Yes, it's awesome. Sorry. Yes, exactly. My mind is already like 10 steps ahead of me, and I'm with you. It's
Yeah.
true, but it's good to pace yourself. I'm great at pacing everybody else. You know, I do coaching for breast implant illness people for detoxing, especially when they're right out the gate, and I'm great at helping people with them. But when it comes to me, I'm like, I'm a sprinter. And then my husband always says it's a marathon, not a sprint. He's my pace car. Thank God I have one.
Right.
Who knows? I'd go right off the cliff. Woo!
Yeah.
So I love
true.
it. So I love this. Okay, so is there any little bit of homework you can give for somebody who just had explant surgery and they're eager to get moving on their scars? How soon can they start? Is there something they can do at home if they're not close to Clearwater, Florida, or Palm Harbor, or this area? What's something that they can do for themselves, or what's something they should look up so that they know
Right.
how to get help?
I'll have to put in the link afterwards. There's a really great book that comes with a CD that talks about preparing yourself before surgery. So ideally, it's great if people can do a pre and post surgical package where they get lined up with the correct nutritional and supplemental protocol for them to actually get them better prepared for the surgery so that they can recover faster.
That makes sense
and then
to me.
Talk about your wishes, basically. What do you want to have alternative therapies instead of having antibiotics? Do you want to try something like colloidal silver instead? And for pain management, do you want to skip the opioids and maybe do some natural therapies for pain and meditation, things that you can
sorry, that brought me to, we shared a surgeon, and for you, she did the same thing, right? She said no antibiotics until we ended up needing them at the end, right?
Right. And I actually had to end up signing a waiver telling her that I refused it when
Really?
it really should be the other way around.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
But either way, but she gave it as a choice. I mean, when I was getting my water broken to have my son, and I wouldn't take any drugs, they basically said I couldn't do it without antibiotics, and it was a mess. He had a terrible colic and stomach issues because of it. It was a disaster, but there was no other way, and it was too late for me to switch anywhere, and no one would take me because I was old and high risk and blah 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 blah. But the point is that, at least she gave it to you as a choice, because I was talking to someone today who said that their doctor's not even giving it to them as a choice to whether they want to take antibiotics or not. Not all doctors let you choose. Dr. Barnett did.
Yeah, she wasn't happy about it with me, but she did. And the thing about it is that it's still your choice. There is no dictatorship in your healthcare.
Agreed.
You are the soul. So, getting ahead of time, getting set up with someone that can help you through the whole process. I immediately had someone come to my house and do reflexology to start helping me detox afterwards, like the same night as the surgery. Had somebody come in and start working through body talk and start detoxing and moving things along so that the anesthesia was the one unnatural thing that I did have to do. Nowhere in the States would approve for me to go
wide awake.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I actually did request it to be done by an acupuncturist because
you absolutely would. You absolutely would. I like that about you. You absolutely would. I went natural childbirth. I don't know if I would have let them take my toxic tatas out without any drugs, but I like that you did. I like that about you.
It definitely is not done in the States.
Yeah.
But so people, it is great if you know ahead of time and you can set yourself up with this process, like a pre and post surgical package.
And that's when I start talking to people. So, This is
Yeah,
great for
that's
them
great.
to hear this. So start, start your clean eating now. Start all of your macros now. Start eating all your clean food, and just get your body ready. And like she said,
Exactly.
get your team ready, people that you trust, people in your area that you really like. Get yourself ready for
Hmm.
detoxing so that you can kind
Right.
of,
And there should be people like me out there everywhere that do things like this that will actually make home visits. That's one of my
that would be
main things
awesome.
with post-surgical treatment. You really need your wound. I do dressing changes and I come to their house immediately afterwards, as
That's
soon as they
awesome.
want me there, start doing reflexology. However, I will say that it doesn't matter how old a scar is, because when I started working on my C-section scars, I still saw drastic improvement. You could literally stick a needle in me from
Ah,
basically anywhere from my belly button to my pubic bone, and I probably would not even feel it.
ouch, from scarring.
It was, yeah, it was so numb. I had been cut open, in the same place 4 different times. So, um, I will say that no matter how old the scar is, don't ever think that it's too late, because there's always room for improvement. I've worked on burn victims that have gone most of their lives thinking that they've gone through several grafting surgeries,
Wow,
and
that's
so,
amazing.
you know, but one thing I do want to clarify is, don't confuse scar therapy with the surgical um, scar therapy, where they cut a scar out and then
Ah,
sew it back together, because they do use that term in Western medicine as well. They call scar therapy just cutting out the old scar and then sewing new pieces of skin back together. But obviously, that new scar will also create fascia tissue and binding and possibly adhesion. So
so how soon? I don't think I think switched subjects on you, but so how soon after an explant should they start or should not start scar therapy, the massaging and all that stuff?
with my clients, I typically see them right after, because I'm doing the dressing changes and everything too. But
Mine were
depending
sore.
on
I couldn't have touched them for like 3 weeks at least.
right,
Yeah.
right. The actual scar therapy and manual manipulation of it and cupping doesn't typically begin until at least 6 to 8 weeks post-op.
That's about the same time you
But
can start exercising and all that stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, we have yes, scar. A lot of people are talking about their scars. Rachel said her scars are almost gone. And yeah, well, the scars, that's amazing. Well, listen, I can tell you that even just rubbing my scars, I get zings of energy. So, I mean, it's definitely that flow of energy gets blocked up. And if you think about it, all the nerves get cut.
Yeah.
When I had my first set of implants in, I was breastfeeding the first time, and I would get this, it felt like someone was sticking a hot needle through my back, because where he had cut it was when she would nurse, it would pull on this nerve. So for the first 2 months, it felt like someone was stabbing me in the back every time she would nurse. And anyone who nursed knows how bad nursing hurts when you first start. So I'm like, it looked
Mhm.
like I was being tortured. It was pretty
Yeah, I
horrible.
always had the best posture, and I think just from the implants and nursing, I just always felt like I could never open my chest up
Yeah.
enough.
Yes.
Being
The
a
scars
gymnast for
too.
most of my
Oh,
life, I
just
remember
talking
being
about it.
able to open up, and
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I could open up. And so yeah, it's very important, just with not only energy flow but lymphatic flow. And as you're recovering from this, your lymph system is a huge part of your immunity
For
and
sure.
being able to recover,
Well, I have a lot of
long
women who
term.
message me and they get lumps, behind the ears and in the armpits, and or
Right.
if you feel stuffed up, or that heavy feeling that. And personally, for the longest time in my right armpit, I had like a lump in my armpit, and I got it checked out a couple times. And if I would massage or work out, it would go away more. But it's the same thing.
Mhm.
There's so much that goes into it, and I have to say this is that because I've been talking to a lot of women just today, actually, and we have a new group, Breast Implant Illness, Detox and Healing. And Amber, I'm gonna talk about how to get silicone out of your body tomorrow in the group. So keep an eye out for that. But so as far as that lymphatic drainage goes, a lot of people that are removing their implants, because you feel great. The day you remove them, you feel so much better. You think, okay, I'm done. And there's just so much more. And England and I were talking about this earlier today, as there's phases of feeling better, and you go in waves. And for me, I got pregnant 4 weeks after I removed my implants. I had been trying for 3 years, and I went to specialists everywhere, and they just kept telling me that I was infertile, and I just stopped ovulating. There was no other answers. I got my implants removed. I did a 10-day detox. I was taking bentonite clay for 6 to 8 weeks before I removed them, and I felt so good because of my metals. If you have heavy metals, they were so high. I was taking that for about 8 weeks, and I felt good every time I took them. It was the first time I didn't feel like a total ding-ding. You know, blonde jokes were made just for me, I swear, when I had my implants in. And I felt great. And then 4 weeks, I was pregnant. And then I just finished breastfeeding last week. So here I am starting to detox again. And I can tell you that, wow, it kicks you right in the butt. And it's like I'm picking up right where I ended. I had blood work done and everything, and it showed that I still was pretty toxic, which is hard to hear when you're breastfeeding a baby, but we're not going to go there. And I mean, but it's intense. And like you said on your journey, is that it was going up and down, and it's because you release some stuff, and then you feel like crap, and then it goes away, and then it's like peeling back layers of onions.
Right. And that's a really hard topic. I can say I don't know if it's the case for everyone, but I was very fortunate, and just feel just really blessed that I did do a metal test on my daughter that I was breastfeeding, and nothing was
thank
had.
God. That makes me so happy. So I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna check that out.
But she also did not have MTHFR, and I did.
Well, that makes a difference. Well, that makes a difference. And that's going to be our next chat. Please look out for my iTunes podcast. It will be My Crunchy Life. It's going to be live this week. Until then, it's on Podbean. And England and I are talking about having a chat about MTHFR. So we're going to open up the conversation, actually. I see we have some of the people watching. If you have questions, please, now is the time. We're going to wrap it up. So let us know if you have any questions. I'm going to try to answer them quickly, because my little 14-month-old is going to waddle his diaper butt out here and catch me soon. He woke up right before I went live, was not taking no for an answer. Hello, Maya. You just got the end of us here.
This is actually my first public Facebook Live. I'm super.
Excuse me.
Shy and not shy, I guess, but I'm not super comfortable with public appearances, I guess. And so, as thorough as we think that we may have been, I would like to make sure that we're answering questions if you guys have them.
For sure. Well, I mean, okay, Christine is explanting with Dr. Barnett on Monday. Well, I can't wait to hear about your journey, and I hope you're in breast implant illness detox and healing, and I hope everyone jumps on. And please let us know. We didn't have a lot of questions, but I'm sure the inboxes will be flooded afterwards, because it happens every single time. And I'm going to try to get back to everybody, and England will try to get back to everybody as soon as she can. Please let us know if you're watching the replay or if you are watching it live. So just let us know at the bottom, because I love to hear if you're watching the replay or not. And you can always let us know if you have any questions, because we can always come back to answer them too. So we didn't get a lot of questions, but we'll just here. Okay, Naomi, not a lot of detoxing before. It depends on what you got going on in your body. If you have heavy metals, that's the only thing I ever tell people is bentonite clay is pretty amazing, because it will draw out the metals. Otherwise, wait until after you explant. And for me, actually, right as I explanted, the day of, my girlfriend's a master herbalist. She brought me chamomile and red clover tea, half and half of each, 4 cups a day, and it got all the anesthesia out of my body. What about you? You were talking about what you did too. You did a reflexology.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. And on the detox matter, before they come out, I would definitely guard against doing the really strong detoxes with
Yeah.
the infrared sauna, because you can actually make your implants and the capsules that are created in your body to actually protect yourself. You can make those things more permeable
Toxic
because of the
soup.
heat.
Toxic
Yeah.
soup tatas. You don't
I
want
wish I
toxic
would have
soup
known
tatas.
that.
Oh man, yeah.
Definitely wish I would have known that.
Oh, or mammograms.
So.
That's another thing I hear a lot of people, you know, if their breasts are being pressed on a lot, or mammograms and all of those things. I mean,
That's a really good point. My
yeah.
integrative oncologists, three of them that I was working with, said that I was really lucky that I've never had a mammogram. And they said because of where the
Wow.
cancer cells were on the capsule behind on the very back side of the left side, they said it would have been very, very likely that it would have pushed the cells, ruptured
Ah,
them, and gone into my lymph nodes under my
oh,
arm.
you are just, that is, you had angels flying over your head. Oh my God.
So, yeah,
So,
yep, I would be very, very careful about the mammograms. I actually highly recommend thermographies.
well, if you do have implants, if you have implants and you're worried about having breast implant illness and you're thinking about removing them, I am not a doctor. I'm not your doctor, y'all. I'm just saying. I would go get tested and checked out for breast implant illness. Rule that out before you go get squeezing out your boobies. Okay, so I have a couple questions here. I'm trying to, if it looks like I got the old lady face on, it's because I'm trying to read the questions.
I have no idea how you're reading all of it because I don't even see.
I know, I'm sorry. I don't know why it did. I tried to fix the thing and my phone's been, it's been a problem. Shannon, I stopped I did bentonite clay up until explant, until the doctor told me I had to stop taking anything. That's when I did it. Same thing to you, Lisa. So until your doctor tells you don't take any more supplements, blah, 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 that's when I took bentonite clay too. And all right, so, well, I don't know enough about thermography. I wanted to go check it out for myself. They wouldn't let me because I was breastfeeding, and she said that it would just be confusing, and I had to wait until 6 months after I was done breastfeeding. And I have very,
Right.
my breasts are very fibrous, and I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it comes from just the stuff they've been through, poor things. And I was talking to my doctor about this, and I was talking to another breastie today about this, who was saying that they feel lumpy. And I said, and she's about 9 weeks out, and I said, you know, for me, my implants are out. I breastfed 2 kids, but I mean, you would think that I'd have breast cancer because of all the lumps and all that. And my doctor assured me I don't have any issues. She said, if you're feeling something and it doesn't move, if it's a lump and it does not move, if it's stationary, then you should be worried. So I just want to throw that out there because I know a lot of women that are having similar issues, because I'm getting messages and text messages and all those questions. So that's just something to think about. Now, I am not diagnosing or undiagnosing anything you have going on. That's my disclaimer right there. But, you know, if you're worried about something, check it out. But if you are having, you know, fibrocystic breasts, also something to check out. All right. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. England, this has been a blast. And thank you for popping your bubble of first time. I think I hear bats. Do you hear that? Can you hear that?
I did.
Yikes. I'm glad I'm in an enclosure here. Anyway, if you have questions, please send messages. It's been a pleasure and so much great information. I'm going to go get my scar therapy. I'm also going to document it. So I'll be putting it up in my group so you guys can see as I arrive. And maybe she'll let me take pictures of her scraping my scar tissue. I don't know. Maybe you won't. I mean, there won't. It will be PG. Okay, don't worry. Anyway, thank you guys so much. And I'm going to go ahead and keep this video, save it, and it will be on YouTube too. And it will also be on mycrunchylife.com. Please check out biidetox.com. And you can find me on social media, mycrunchylife with an IE. And England, what is your website?
England's Primal Health.
Englandsprimalhealth.com.
Yes.
.com. All right, bye guys. Thank you so much for visiting
Thank
us,
you.
England. Thank you so much. You look like a natural to me. I don't know what you were talking about. All
Thank,
right, bye
thanks for
guys.
watching, you guys.